name. Then he said the anointed, the chosen, the elect, because they were waiting for the Messiah. The Messiah, Mashiach, which means the elect, the anointed, the chosen one. Go ahead. Because they didn't, like I said, because they didn't want to accept that he was the chosen one. Because they read about him in Deuteronomy and other prophecies or prophets that spoke about the Messiah is coming. And he actually came. And they said, nah, he ain't the guy. Go ahead.
Of Nazareth, whom ye crucified, whom the Most High raised from the dead, even by him does this man stand here before you whole. This is the stone which was set at naught of you builders, which is become the head of the corner. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. Now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John, and perceived that they were unlearned and ignorant men.
Unlearned and ignorant men. Now look up the word unlearned and ignorant. See, you can't do what Johanna does. You can't wing it, man. You got to put time in. You got to study. You know, you got to go to that blue letter. You got to go to the Torah. You got to go to the Tanakh. You know, you got to take time and you got to meditate. You got to study. You got to pray. That's why he's only going to go so far, man. He's only going to go so far in this thing because the Lord is definitely not dealing with him. When you resort to blatantly lying on a brother.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to look up the word unlearned first.
Strong's G62, agrammatos. Agrammatos.
Illiterate, unlearned. Down here it says illiterate without learning, unversed in the learning of the Jewish schools. Ooh. It says i.e., i.e. When you see i.e., that means example given in the Latin. It says unversed in the learning of the Jewish schools. Now remember what the brothers said, you know, Elder Ramlab, Elder Tar, Elder Ramlab.
The only one that was learned in those schools was Paul.
Yeah, like Elder Tar just said, Paul actually went to school and Gamaliel was his teacher. All right. Now the next word is ignorant.
Strong's G 2399, idiotes. Idiotes.
I mean, I don't have to explain that. In the Spanish, it's idiota, you know, idiot. Number one, a private person as opposed to a magistrate, ruler, king. A common soldier as opposed to a military officer. A writer as prose as opposed to a poet. Excuse me. In the New Testament, an unlearned, illiterate man as opposed to the learned and educated. And where would they go? They would go to school, a Jewish school back then. Or have a teacher, have a tutor, like it mentions in the book of Galatians, the 2nd chapter. In the New Testament, an unlearned, illiterate man as opposed to the learned and educated. One who is unskilled in any art. Pretty much it says the same thing down here. I just, before he reads that, I just have a quick example to back these brothers up. This is dealing with Paul and Ananias. Now this is found in Acts 23:1. It says, and Paul earnestly beholding the council, because Paul was looked down on before he was looked up to when he was, the main henchman for the Pharisees, the wicked Pharisees. But when he became born again, like Yahushua said, everybody in the truth have to be born again. They look down on the man, you know. And
They didn't necessarily look down on him. They basically didn't trust him because he had put orders. The first mention of Paul was in Acts. When you read Acts the 6th chapter, Acts the 7th chapter, with this guy Stephen, and he was stoned, and the garments was laid at Paul's feet. So Paul was there, you know. Okay, we got one of them, and that was a fulfillment of I believe that's is that St. John the 16th chapter. Yeah, get me that, and from the very top, because Paul was going out killing the so-called Christians, and but he did it in sincerity, because he really thought he was doing the will of the Most High. That's why he had to get drop kicked off that horse, so to speak.
John 16:1. These things have I spoken unto you, that you should not be offended. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth the Most High's service.
And that was Paul, because he actually thought he was doing what the Most High wanted him to do, until he was transformed.
All right, reading on. It says, and Paul, earnestly beholding the council, said, Men and brethren, I have lived in all good conscience before the Most High until this day. And the high priest Ananias commanded them that stood by him, this him being Paul, to smite him on the mouth. So, you know, maybe I used the wrong choice of words, but Ananias certainly, he looked at Paul with disdain. Because in the second verse it says, and the high priest Ananias commanded... Yeah, they hated, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Like Elder Tar just said, they hated him, you know. And you know, if you're a man of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, you're going to be hated. All right? If you speak the truth. You know why General Gehenna hates Elder Tahar? Because Elder Tahar is speaking the truth, and General Gehenna is a liar, and he knows it. He knows it. He knows that he's a liar, and he knows that Elder Tahar is speaking the truth. So that's why, that's one of the number one reasons why he hates the man. All right? Now you have an example right here with Ananias and Paul. It says, and the high priest Ananias commanded them, and that's why we always tell you, brothers, like we have the homework, and you got guys coming down on us because we have the homework. The homework forces you to get into the history. It forces you to get into what you're in. If you're an Israelite, you want to be the best Israelite that you can possibly be, man. You don't want to be a half-ass, you know. Does not the scripture speak about being lukewarm? The Lord don't accept no lukewarm person. Anyway, reading on, it says, and the high priest Ananias commanded them that stood by him to smite him on the mouth. Then said Paul unto him, the Most High shall smite thee, thou whited wall, for sittest thou to judge me after the law, and commandest me to be smitten contrary to the law? Now listen to this, the fourth verse. And they that stood by said, revilest thou the Most High's high priest? So because this guy had a high office, they looked at him, oh, this is the Most High's, this is the high priest of the Most High. How can you talk to him like that? They were saying that to Paul. Then said Paul, I wist not, brethren, that he was the high priest, for it is written, thou shalt not speak evil of the ruler of thy people. And when you hear that scripture in Proverbs comes to mind, where it says, a soft answer turneth away wrath, because, you know, Paul was a deep brother, you know.
All right, you got anything? All right, go ahead.
This is Galatians chapter 4, verse 1. Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, differeth nothing from a servant, though he be Lord of all, but is under tutors and governors unto the time appointed of the father.
Yeah, now